I said some ridiculous things and upset
Racist
them.
things.
Necessarily racist.
You all laughed at me. Well, I have to say, you're not laughing now, are you?
What Brexit is.
It was a catastrophe.
A victory!
A 6% hit on GDP.
And no one cares. You care, but no one cares.
I vote for Reform UK in this election.
We'll be willing to give that way if he can make us proud of being British again.
Parents out there who can't get a fucking flat and they're being given to these, and I'm going to say it, people, I'm going to say it because you're going to have to fucking hear it. We're giving the flats to these fucking...
How is a man who's essentially running a single issue party been able to shake up British politics right at its epicenter?
Dispute and all the rest of it, the British people have spoken, and the answer is we're out.
How as a person that was labelled a political joke, to some degree still is, how has that person been able to change the very fabric of British politics, to some degree our actual lives? How have they done that? We will explore all of that and more in today's episode. Okay, so before we get into today's episode, I'm in unusual settings. There will be a little bit of background noise. Forgive me, I'm getting work done, so it's all over the place. Forgive me. However, maybe I might do an episode in some of the rooms where the work's being done, but that's enough. Sorry for another day. Please do me one massive favor. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. In order for the channel to grow, it will need your support. It will need your subscriptions, it needs your comments, it needs all of that. So please, if you enjoy what I'm speaking about, if you've enjoyed things in the past and you're not subscribed, do it. And you'll help me out. Without further ado, let's get into the episode. To be quite frank with you, I was struggling with this episode, how to start. I was away for a week, getting work done. And I didn't know where to start with the episode. And I thought, let's actually do what I used to do and do a bit of a deep dive into who Nigel Farage really is and how he became who he is now. Nigel Farage is someone who started off in Farnborough. He was schooled in Dulwich College, which was a fee-paying school. He had many, many political figures visit the school. Enoch Powell, someone he refers to as a mentor, a sort of spiritual father in some ways. Someone he's modeled a lot of his politics after. I disagree, but he says he has. From there, when he left school, he became a city trader, working in commodities originally, joining the Conservative Party in the year 1978. Although that year he did vote Greens because he believed they were more in line with his Euro-skepticism. And it's important to say this. When he was in school, Nigel Farage was someone who was accused of having anti-Semitic comments, saying racist things. He himself has said he said many silly things when he was growing up.
I said some ridiculous things and upset
Racist
them.
things.
Not necessarily racist things.
Not
but
necessarily racist.
Well, it depends how you define it.
His head teacher, though, vehemently disagrees and says he was just more rude than racist or anti-Semitic. And the reason I bring this up is only to say that there is a little bit of a history when you look at the UKIP party, the Reform Party, and it having not necessarily its soil in racism, but having a connection to far extremist groups like neo-Nazis, like the EDL, like the BNP. And these comments from his past, although some in his class and his head teacher at Dulwich College disagree and say those statements are, let's call it exaggerated to some degree, it shows that this ideology isn't too far away from racism and xenophobia. Anyway, like I said, he joined the Conservative Party in 1978, voted Greens at the time because it was more in line with his Euroscepticism, eventually joined the Anti-Federalist Party, then founded the UKIP party in 1993. And the funny thing is the UKIP party was seen as a single issue party, a bit of a, again, like I said, a political joke earlier about himself. But in reference to the party was seen as a political joke.
The Conservative MP Ben Bradley is in the House of Commons. He voted to remain, then became a Brexiteer, then voted against the deal, then voted for the deal, then said he'd struggle to back the deal again, but now says he will back the deal.
Really not being able to conjure up any sort of seats, any sort of momentum domestically. However, in the early years of the 2000s, it would spring to light every time there was a European election. Every time the topic of Europe came up, it sprung to light. And strangely, this is something the media would constantly brush past as just far-right racist extremists. David Cameron said this famous quote, which I will put here, that they are not a serious party. They are not something to take serious, but they never went away. Honestly, like political cockroaches, they were able to survive and eventually evolve. It's important to say this, that what was inherited and the atmosphere that allowed the UKIP party to keep growing and developing and not quite go away despite being ignored, despite some of its policies extended beyond Europe, being, really shallow, not tightly thought about, even if you just disagree from the political lens it was. We have to look at the environment that they were able to survive in. And it didn't just happen because overnight and Britain's full of racists. That's not true at all. Britain just didn't break all of a sudden. It didn't break in the Blair era or in the David Cameron era. It really starts in 1979. The Iron Lady, Margaret Thatcher.
Discord, may we bring harmony. Where there is error, may we bring truth. Where there is doubt, may we bring faith. And where there is despair, may we bring hope.
People find it very easy, I should say, to blame Margaret Thatcher for many of the issues that lay today. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. But Margaret Thatcher, the Iron Lady, a woman that came to define the 80s, the first thing she did, which is very symbolic of her ruthlessness, was to remove milk from school kids after the age of 7.
For the rest of her tenure, Thatcher was followed everywhere by cries of "Thatcher, milk snatcher,"
which is symbolic to me that she was very much about hard work and individualism and not living off the state. That reflected her relationship with the trade unions, something that she slowly dismantled. She also got rid of the miners, the coal mines, the factories.
What sort of government is it which sees its authority passed to strike committees? To those waiting with bated breath for that favourite media catchphrase, the U-turn, I have only one thing to say. U-turn if you want to. The ladies not for turning.
She brought Britain into a globalisation era. She won the Falkland War. Margaret Thatcher is a complicated politician, one of the most successful politicians of her era. I almost want to say maybe the most successful, maybe. And it's easy to say that, that environment, that dismantling of manufacturing, that dismantling of the trade unions made people lose their identity, destroyed small towns, destroyed the working class. The identity of working class was attached to factories, to the trade unions. But you have to understand the environment Margaret Thatcher took in. Margaret Thatcher inherited an environment where Britain was in a recession. Britain had rising inflation, rising unemployment. So she had to act. She had to do something. But it created a particular type of environment. When you take away people's work, livelihood, something happens.
Say it, people. I'm gonna say it because you're gonna have to fucking hear it. We're giving the flats to these fucking b****s, right? Who've got 50 and 60 in a fucking flat on their own, right? We're giving that to them. There's 3.5 million unemployed out there. 3.5 million of us who can't find fucking work because they're taking them all because it's fucking cheap labour, cheap and easy labour, fucking cheap and easy, which makes us cheap and easy. 3.5 fucking million. It's not a joke. It's not a fucking joke. And that Thatcher sits there in a fucking ivory tower and sends us on a fucking phony war. The Falklands? Fucking Falklands? What the fuck's the Falklands?
As simple as people get left behind. People get angry. And you'll see throughout this episode where this is going. People get angry, people get left behind. Communities start to break apart. The sense of community goes. You have to understand Britain post World War II, there was a collective understanding and effort to rebuild Britain. Britain was financially hamstrung. The empire, imperialism died. Good thing, but it died. Britain needed a new identity. And no matter where you were left or right, conservative, Labour, there was a collective cause to rebuild. And that was kind of lost with Margaret Thatcher. That was not only lost, it entered into the era of globalization. She got Britain out of a recession. She got rid of Britain out of inflation. She did a good job in that sense. But what the cost of that was purpose. People lost their purpose. Small towns became dismantled. Communities destroyed. Jobs lost. People dying in wars.
Downing Street, the Prime Minister makes the momentous announcement for which the world had been waiting.
The German war is at an end.
This created what would become known as the post-war consensus. Oh, look, here he goes again. Jimmy talking about the post-war consensus. Now, historically, this was one of the longest periods of time of sustained economic growth in the West. And basically the ideas behind this was that the government would play a role to manage economic cycles and ensure full employment of the population. I'll show you the graph again. Look, the nice graph. Look, you see how all those dots just sort of disappear? That's pretty interesting, right? The whole world stops collapsing every few years. Ironically, this period of time is often dubbed the golden age of capitalism. You know, this period of time in which we were the least free market capitalists we'd ever been, it was characterized as a period of high growth, low unemployment, and rising living standards for all. The UK experienced nearly 3 decades of uninterrupted economic prosperity. We built the NHS, we expanded education for all, poverty drastically dropped, and productivity soared. And I'm not trying to over-glamorize it. There were a few little financial hiccups every now and then, but look at how it was before, and then during this period of time, you'll notice they didn't release Great Depression Part 3.
A wonderful thing for our businessmen and our manufacturers and our unemployed to taste hope again.
That is the exact conditions when someone like Farage or political thinkers of that nature come into power, and there's a correlation to that too. If you know me, or have watched any of these episodes, I love films. I probably love films more than I enjoy reading, actually. Not that you care, but there's a point. Anyway, I watched a film for this, and it was called This Is England. You may have heard of it. It's had a TV series, 3 mini-series. This is England 86, This is England 88, This is England 90. But the film is probably my favorite part of the series, and it documents Sean, whose father passed away in the Falkland Wars. Sean is kind of disillusioned, slightly lost. He gets bullied in school for being a poorer kid. He gets bullied in school for his clothing. He runs away from school and he's walking, and he gets introduced to skinheads. It's important to say this, at the time, skinheads weren't the racists that we see them as. This is literally just before they were infiltrated by neo-Nazis and the NF, the National Front. They did have another name. He's introduced to Combo, who came from prison, comes back, rejoins with the team, and he has extremist views.
Parents out there who can't get a fucking flat, and they're being given to these, and I'm gonna say it, people, I'm gonna say it because you're gonna have to fucking hear it. We're giving the flats to these fucking right, who've got 50 and 60.
But his extremist views speak to the lack of belonging. I mean, these kids, you have to understand, the skinhead movement was mixed with black and white people. It was just misfits. It was just people who didn't quite fit in, who felt a little bit fallen behind. And they were a bit delinquent, but they weren't inherently bad. And that racist ideology came into a group that was searching for belonging, searching for something. There was pain there. And together they felt like a unit. The film is one of the best British films I've ever seen. I have to be honest with you. And the reason I say that is because it shows that people don't become extreme because of ideology. They become extreme through belonging. They just are seeking people that understand them, people who will laugh with them.
You've got the political side with Thatcher, you've got the miners' strikes, you've got all those things that we both remembered. And I remember Shane just writing this opening paragraph sort of saying about before Game Boys, before PlayStations, you know, before all the kids looked the same, there was this time when there were punks, mods, skinheads, new romantics. And this really sort of captured in this opening paragraph this tribal thing about the 80s and about how, you know, belonging to one of those tribes.
And Como exploits that. And the funny thing and the saddest part of the film is that Como himself, who's extreme, has very racist ideology. Himself is a hollow shell. There's a theory that he's actually a mixed race character that was abandoned by his father, and that's why he has such racist views. But that's a theory, that's just a theory. But Como has very racist views, he's extreme, and underneath it all, he's a lonely person who's been broken by society and just putting his pain outwardly to everyone else, instead of looking inward and seeing where it comes from. It gives people who essentially, and the film does this beautifully, essentially people who pain is at the system, but the system isn't a face, it's not a person, it's not a community. There's no one to direct your pain at. It shows how those ideologies and that pain gets pushed onto people and why that pain has to go somewhere.
I tell you, you know, any time you want to come around for something to eat, you have to come around to my grandma's to get something to eat. Yeah, man. She cook some rice, she cook some peas, she cook some chicken. She sounds that lovely, doesn't she? Ah, serious, man. Then you come home for some ackee and saltfish.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
Ah, seriously, man, because I'd love for you to do that. I'd love for you to do that. That'd be nice. Seriously, come and see how we live, you know what I mean? Even on a bad day, there'll probably be a couple of my uncles and about 7.
Okay, you've got everything, you haven't you?
What?
You've got the whole lot, haven't you? You've got the whole fucking perfect package, haven't you?
Fucking hell. Got everything, you, didn't you? Fucking hell.
So, well, I mean, what do you think makes a bad dad?
I don't know, mate. Not a dad, am I?
I know you had a good dad and that, right? But be honest with me, what do you really think makes a bad dad, though?
I don't know, man. It's with the questions, man. I feel like I'm being interrogated. What do you reckon? Niggers? What's with the nigger?
Because you're that, aren't you? You're a fucking nigger.
It's brilliant, the film, truly. And the reason I mention that is because it started in 1983. It shows Margaret Thatcher's era. It shows that loss of community. It shows what happens to a community that gets left behind. So I think it's set in Liverpool as well. So it shows a smaller town than London and how those communities that once were communities slowly erode over time. I want to say this, and this is quite important, is that the film doesn't depict the National Front racist ideologies as this super inclusive thing. In fact, the film constantly questions it. The film constantly makes it very clear that it's not even charismatic leaders, it's not even people that you believe in, or the ideologies make sense.
Marginalised. We've been called cranks. We're not cranks. Some people say we're racist. We're not racist, we're realists. Some people call us Nazis. We're not Nazis. And what we are nationalists. And there's a reason people try to pigeonhole us like this. And that is because of one word, gentlemen. Fear.
Yeah.
They fear us. They fear us because we are the true voice of the people of this country.
Yes! Yes, Lenny.
People who work hard, pay their way, don't matter what their ethnic background is, I welcome open arms in this country. It's the people who think we owe them a living.
Yeah.
These are the people that need to go back.
Yes! Send them back! Send them back!
An English king on a battlefield once said, "From this day to the end of the world, only we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers." Gentlemen, it is the time to stand up and be counted. It is the time for action.
Essentially, the film says it's the lack of belonging and just somewhere to point your anger to is all people need. You feel like home with these people and they point your anger to someone. Perhaps now you understand why someone like Nigel Farage makes sense. People for years now have felt left behind by Westminster, have been let down by the political elite. There's an article in the Atlantic called White Identity, and it discusses how white communities, white people feel left behind through identity politics, EDI and DEI, how globalization has allowed people to feel, or has created the unrest and social unrest where white identity is questioned more and more. Essentially, it's like the emperor realizes they have no clothes on, and what that does to people, and how it's almost a natural response, especially when conversations and dialogue and wordings are now being policed. It seems like a natural response, because many of you would probably watch this and think to yourself, Nigel Farage doesn't make sense, or Donald Trump doesn't make sense. How can people vote for him? How can people vote for Nigel Farage when he petitioned for Brexit and Brexit's failing? How do you still vote for him?
Who knows about Brexit?
Yeah, quite.
No one's got a fucking clue what Brexit is.
It was a catastrophe.
A victory!
A 6% hit on GDP.
Held account for it.
It's a valid point. A lot of people do feel that...
Are you still suggesting Brexit was a success? Do you remember a promise you said when you had a show here on LBC, I think in 2017?
If Brexit is a disaster, I will go and live abroad. I'll go and live somewhere else. But, well, economically, Brexit's working. We've gone
Explain that to me.
I will. We've gone from being the world's 7th biggest exporter to the world's 4th biggest exporter. That's good. Right. And we're signing trade deals all over the world. Where Brexit has been a failure and where people are upset is not because of Brexit, but because of the Conservative Party's total failure to implement it.
What should have happened that the Conservative Party did not put in place?
What Boris Johnson did was to set the level at which you could come lower than we'd ever seen it before, and to open it up to the whole world. That Brexit has not been implemented. That is true. It's not a failure of Brexit. Nick,
tax receipts
we're
are down
in charge.
£40 billion, Mr. Farage.
Oh, tax receipts are up. Tax receipts are down. I mean, look,
they're down £40 billion.
Well, have a guess what's happened. Do you know our productivity is lower than the French?
Because it's not about logic. It's about emotion. And I'm not saying they're doing the right thing. I'm saying we have to understand the emotion of these people and how they got to where they got to. And that image of Nigel Farage, that image of him being in a pub, smoking a cigar, slightly unpolished, it sells. It was like the Donald Trump thing, like the article says, it speaks to the humanity. It speaks directly in opposition to the people that felt left behind by Westminster. Now you understand the emotion of it. You understand how people, the environment, the emotion, and the communities have grown, globalization, more immigration has happened. You can understand why people were against Europe, against migration, immigration, asylum seekers. But there's a question, a genuine question that we need to answer now is their point about immigration true?
Nah, I don't think so.
There's truth to it. Illegal immigration does cost the UK millions, tens, hundreds of millions. It creates already a strained market of housing, NHS, ungodly problems. There is a housing crisis. There is housing issues. There is an issue with the NHS. However, the premise that migrants are the reason why the economy is falling is a lie.
None of it's true. None of it's true. None of it's true. It's BS.
Yes, there is a slight population problem. It's something that needs to be addressed. It's something that does need to happen. However, Britain has one of the tightest borders in Europe. It has one of the most difficult processes to become a national in. It's one of the hardest countries to illegally migrate in. Many people leave. So the premise itself there's truth to some of the premise, but let me say this now, the framing is very, very, very strategic. And people like Nigel Farage, people on that side of the fence, they know what they're doing. They're othering, they're dividing. And the saddest part is that the divide wouldn't even come close to solving the problem. Many of you probably already know that, but some people may need, further reinforcing of that issue. As you can see, many people have discussed how this issue has some merit, but generally is stoked in just xenophobia and othering. One place I want to make a comment on, because I have a whole point with this with Nigel Farage, because I believe despite his image of being the everyday man, he came from city trading, he's not a typical Westminster politician. I think he's very much in alignment of the principles and morals of politicians. I just think he has a different coat, a different font.
Yeah. Julia, it's a private thing. It wasn't a political donation. If you read the rules carefully, I've done absolutely nothing wrong.
Then why is there a Standards and Privileges Committee investigation into you? And why has this done so much damage?
Because it has to you, and it has to the London media class, but it didn't.
No,
really...
I don't think that's fair. When I first heard, I don't think I am typical of that class, and I understand your security needs. I think you know now that it was a mistake not to declare that money.
No, I don't. And I spoke to hundreds of people in Makerfield, walking up and down streets over 4 days of campaigning, and only one person raised it as an issue. Only one person raised it as an issue.
Is follow the money. Nigel Farage recently had a scandal about a gift that he received, an unconditional gift, he calls it, from a crypto billionaire who's based in Thailand, British born, vehemently disagrees, aggressively disagrees, defensively disagrees, Hart struggles to answer the question.
I've always been the outsider in politics. And the fact that for year after year, whilst I was being physically attacked, the state refused to provide me with any support or protection is quite extraordinary.
I just wonder whether, for our viewers, we have a competition every day, but it's not £5 million, £150,000. People buy lottery tickets, but their chances of winning are very, very slim.
Well, you can say the same.
A gift of £5 million.
You can say the same about your salary compared to most of your viewers if you wanted to. We could talk about that.
It's not.
Well, yeah, there you are.
And the reason I bring this up is, what does a crypto billionaire have to stand and gain from giving him £5 million? He says it's for security. There's some truth to that. Why is it not declared? These are questions that can be answered, and perhaps this is the exception, not the rule. But if you look at Nigel Farage's checkered past with who he deals with.
By now, he has appeared on the Kremlin-owned Russia Today TV channel 17 times between 2010 and 2014. Farage is clear about his admiration for the Russian president.
I was asked a couple of months ago, which world leader did I admire? And I said Vladimir Putin as an operator.
A Russian media outlet. You start to realize he has very favourable comments and favourable comments to these people. He has favourable statements, comments, and affection to people like Vladimir Putin. I asked the question today, what difference is he between other politicians who sell out for a buck, whose careers are based off survival, and once they get to the end of their political line, getting into business, investing, finding life after politics through their connections, through their lobbyists, through the donors. Please tell me how Nigel Farage is any different when he will not call out Russia. He will not call out his crypto billionaire. And I just say this as a fun conspiracy. Isn't it funny that cryptocurrencies, trading in general, but cryptocurrencies especially, live off, benefit off, I should say, instability in nations? And a party that really will struggle to win because of the political system that we have in the UK, first past the post, is that this crypto billionaire is funding a party that shakes up the ground of politics, shakes up the very core of the British society without realistically, in this present moment in time, being able to get into number 10.
Follow the rich white man.
Follow the rich white man?
Exactly, now you're learning. Every big crime has a rich white man behind it waiting for his cut.
Irony in that, isn't it? That's food for thought. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's something to that. Russia also has something to gain from divide and conquer in Britain. Fun. But it's not just Farage. It's Labour. It's Conservative. It's Lib Dems. It's the political system. It's important to say this, why people like Farage, immigration policies, anti-immigration policies, people like Trump and the growing far-right community within the UK, Western Europe, keeps growing. Popularism is important. Popularism is the idea that it is a political standpoint that speaks to the people, that speaks directly to the people. And some populist politicians, ideologies, and legislation will be beneficial to countries, UK, US at large. But popularism itself is something that's very reactive, treats itself as if the other side is completely against you. Popularism as the ideology, as this article states, others and divides. And there's a theme to today that dividing is one of the biggest problems. But we live in a very polarized state in Britain at the moment. Institutional problems, institutional failure, loss in the media. I even think the platforming of people like Nigel Farage is the problem, because it gives legitimacy, essentially makes their argument have more credence, essentially something that you no longer can avoid. That's also because he spoke to the people, so there's that. But people have lost trust in the media, institutions, politicians, and they turn to people that they don't quite understand. They turn to someone who appears to speak to their pain without really offering a true understanding. And that's why Farage hasn't gone. That's why the threat of Farage keeps growing. Can he become the next Prime Minister as currently constructed? No. But I would have said the same about Trump. And for how long can we keep ignoring someone like Farage? Maybe Farage isn't the winner, but maybe it's someone from his side. And until the landscape, the system is addressed of how we've lost small towns, we've lost our sense of community, until that's addressed, this polarization that lives in politics will not go away. A lot of the answers is further polarization. Immigration does need to be addressed, of course, but it's not quite the issue people are making out to be. But the issues that underlying immigration, strain on housing, strain on jobs, strain on purpose, strain on belonging, those need to be addressed.
I'm thinking of going for reform.
And how do you feel when he speaks about kind of immigrants and says, we need to stop the number of immigrants coming in?
Well, the thing is, it's just politics, to be honest with you. It's just to bring something up to get people's attention. Not everybody's got 100%. So you give and take. So we're willing to give that way if he can make us proud of being British again. I'm nearly 57, 58, so we're working class people.
And you feel that reform represents you?
Well, at the moment, we've got nobody else.
Who do you think you'll be voting for this time?
Labour.
And I'm very weary of how these episodes end. I don't like the doom and gloom and things are so bad and follow the money. Because we live in a state where there are billionaires, there are trillionaires. And people celebrate them without realizing they hoard wealth. They accumulate wealth only to sell it to us.
Because these two things are just not logically consistently possible at the same time. You cannot, we must make a choice as a society between one of two things. Either we accept, that we have an untaxed billionaire class and we will own nothing and our kids will be poor, or we tax the very rich. These are basically only two options.
2001, they determined that the average American is paying 15% more in taxes because of the taxes the ultra-rich aren't paying.
The whole problem is anything that's not being paid that should be paid. I mean, that's basically what the honest taxpayer is making up, which basically means that everybody is paying 15% more.
That's 25 years ago. And I got news for you. The ultra-rich pay less in taxes than they did 25 years ago. So that number is almost certainly more than 15% today.
So we pay more in taxes because these guys hide their money from the government. Wow.
That's what they do. That's what billionaires and trillionaires do, because that level of wealth It's unmanageable. You can only buy so much. It's really about power, and it's celebrated. Politicians are losing power. The people are losing their voice, while these very few gain wealth. And there is an answer. Yes, tax the wealthy, but that's not the only answer.
Look, here he goes again. Jimmy talking about the post-war consensus.
A wonderful thing for our businessmen and our manufacturers and our unemployed to taste hope again. But they must not allow anyone to put them back in the gold cage where they have been pining their hearts out all these years.
And the reason I'm trying to end on that note is because Britain has faced crisis before. We've lived through, well, no, we didn't. But Britain survived a war, a world war. So did the US, so did the West. And it was in those moments where there was a collective understanding that we need to work together. During COVID, there was, for a very short time, a collective understanding that we need to work together. Yes, that led to overspending. But with these theories of taxing the wealthy, ensuring that they don't have tons of loopholes, because that's many people's argument why taxing the wealthy won't help, is because they have loopholes, they have ways of diverting and evading things. Being stringent in these things, having a collective understanding, moving from individualism to collectivism is the genuine answer. And I will say this, that we're actually a crisis away from that. Some of you may think, what? What do I mean by a crisis? Genuinely, we're a crisis away. Because it's in times of crisis or crises that things force people to work as a unit. So I hope that's hopeful. I hope that makes you realize that we're actually closer to the tipping point. It's going to get a little uncomfortable before then, before we come to a collective understanding. I also want to make this clear. I know I was kind of a bit understanding to Farage supporters. Some of them are just vehement racists, but most of them aren't. Most of them are lost. Most of them have been left behind for a while, and trying to bring as many of them as possible. We don't want the racists, the flaming bigots. We don't want that. And some of them will need to be called out for deliberately inciting political discontent, racial discontent, xenophobic discontent. But many of them were just manipulated. And if we can get to a place where they admit to that too, we can get to that collective understanding and build and rebuild Britain, or just our communities, better. Small towns deserve to have something. Shopping centres shouldn't be so, without being crude, so flipping derelict. And we'll be able to rebuild that. We shouldn't be selling our most historical, cultural areas to private billionaires who are just going to make it more expensive and sell it to us. We'll be able to change that once we start working together, and we're just a crisis away from that. Not completely hopeful, but kind of hopeful, isn't it? Anyway, without further ado, I need to go edit this episode. I need to go check on the builders because they're working on my kitchen. Without further ado, I'll give you my leave. And what is that underneath my nose? I'm out.
I will resign as a Member of Parliament for Clacton-on-Sea, thereby forcing a by-election, which should happen, I hope, in short order. No, I've decided that the people of Clacton should be the judges of my actions. This will be a people versus the establishment by-election. It's a chance to stick two fingers up to the entire establishment, to frankly tell them where to go.
They're not standing a candidate in the fake by-election, which Nigel Farage is causing to distract people from what is happening. We need to let that investigation run its course.
This is a desperate stunt from Nigel Farage, and it's obvious why he's doing it. He is up to his neck in sleaze.